Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. Today we have something a little bit different. I thought maybe we'd take a trip upstairs into the attic and show you some interesting things up there. And there was a tool up there I wanted to show you. So let's get to it. Let's go upstairs and see what we can find. Now, when I was 13 years old, I became a Boy Scout. And one of the things about scouting that was so intriguing to me was all the merit badges that were offered. And each one of those introduced me to a new hobby. One of my hobbies that I got into was leatherwork, one of my early merit badges. Now my main workshop is downstairs, but I made an additional workshop up here in the attic, and this is where I did all my my leatherworking and things like that up here on this bench. And my dad always told me that you always never overwork yourself. His idea was it was 24 hours in a day, and it was 8 hours work, 8 hours play, 8 hours rest. So I never worked overtime except when I wanted to buy this. This was a leatherworking sewing machine, and I worked overtime just to buy that, and it was the only time I worked overtime. Now, even though I'm a born and bred city boy, my leatherworking got me into other hobbies like I was into for a while. I was into the equestrian hobby, and I got into riding horses and learning roping and things like that, and also doing some leather work for that. And here was a saddle I used to use that you had to sit on, because if you're going to spend 8 hours in the saddle, you can't just go there once a week and expect to not to cramp up. So I would use this saddle to get my muscles in tune for riding. I've always been a big fan of old westerns. To this day, I still watch westerns every day, and I started making holsters, and I did have some pistols at the time, and then I wound up making a nice. This is called a rig, and a rig is this would be something that the Long Ranger would wear, you know, and it's a basically. It's a double holster that the old-time Western cowboys would wear, and I made this using, as you can see here, the stitching. That's why I had to buy that sewing machine to get all the stitching nice, and the rivets and whatnot. And these are actually Colt single-action replicas, so that I can get the proper holster size and things like that. They're operational up to a point of just working, but they don't fire any bullets. So this is what I use to form out the holsters. Another one of the hobbies that I found in Scouts was geology, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, first as a scout and then as a scout leader, I would take my my scouts out, and we would look for all different rocks and different fossils and things like that around the area, and I would come across some amazing. Here, this I found at a moon tide, and a moon tide is when you have a full moon, the tide goes out very far because of the draw of the moon, the gravity, and it exposes a lot of things you don't usually see. And I found this rock only not even a half a mile from my house by the Long Island Sound, and this is called an inclusion. And can you imagine the pressure and heat required to do something like this? But I would take the scouts. So here's a piece of obsidian, and I would take the kids out, and we would find these rocks, and they would all be interested. And back then, this is pre-eBay, pre-Amazon. I wanted to get a geology hammer, and I couldn't find one, you know, because again, you were looking in stores around here, and nobody sold them in the city. I had to grind this down. You could see my early grind marks. I wasn't too good, but I did this with a file and sandpaper, and I ground this down to make, you know, somewhat. Here's a later. This is an actual geologist hammer, and you could see the difference, the profile of that. And this has that leather handle. And I really never got to use this. I was always using the one that I made. Again, anytime you grind your own tools, it's for somehow they become your favorite. But I've split open many a rock with this thing, and it served me well. Now, later on, as I started to travel a little bit, I got into what's called fluorescent minerals. And that's what I want to show you tonight. I think they're really amazing. I think you might find them interesting. Certain minerals, only a small percentage of rocks will fluoresce or excite when hit with ultraviolet wavelengths of light, and these are some examples. And I used to go over to Sterling Hill Mine Museum in Franklin, New Jersey, and that's where the capital of a lot of these were. And some of these I would trade with other parts of the country. Let me show you what happens. So I'm going to turn the light off. Remember what this looks like. And then I'm going to hit it with some ultraviolet light, and you can see how these rocks fluoresce. And it's pretty amazing, because each one of these, as you can see, because of what's happening with the ultraviolet light, is it's making the molecules and the wavelength of the light change so that they're visible to our eyes. You know, sometimes only insects could see things like this, but it's pretty amazing. And different rocks, different minerals have different characteristics. You can see some coming off of my hand over there from the rocks, but some, like these here, will come off like almost like a violet. And obviously these here, look at the light on that. Just amazing, isn't it? And this is the ones that, and that's why I would use these, the hammer and things like that, because you could split a rock like this into other rocks. And you would find these in mine shafts and things, anywhere where they would dig up zinc and iron ore and things like that. But in certain parts of the country, here you could see some veins of one mineral running through another. Just a real interesting type of rock. And again, if you hit it with regular light, you will see they look just like regular rocks. You could pass them by in the street, you wouldn't even know it. So in closing, I hope Petey and I gave you something interesting to look at today, something a little different, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for tuning in. Take care. Bye-bye.